you pay an informant and such and so forth. When they seized her phone, so one of firearm and furthers of a drug trafficking crime that results in
of what Tammy Cowens was doing. David attested that Tammy Cowens was.
Yo, what it do, man? It's your boy King JR, and welcome to King JR TV. This is me presenting you these videos. I ain't cutting, I ain't editing, I ain't doing nothing, man. This is straight from the top of the dome. So please, if y'all enjoy this video, hit the like button. Actually, hit it right now. Smash it right now so you don't forget. Subscribe, share the video. Let's get this channel popping, man. Help me grow. Enjoy the video.
Call is from
Dion Jeffers.
This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. To accept this call, press 5. To block this call and all future calls, press 7. You may begin speaking now.
Okay. Well, what I would do is I try to educate your audience and others on how the system works and third-party cooperation. Third-party cooperation is an ugly secret that the DEA and that the federal government don't really want out in the ciphers or the media, because it's underhanded, it's nasty, and it only affects black and brown communities. Third-party cooperation is where myself, I can call and have one of my niggas or a bitch, you know what I mean, to go out and set a motherfucker up. Any event, I will receive a time cut. It's called third-party cooperation.
I also get lots of questions about Rule 35 on a third-party basis. What is third-party cooperation or proxy cooperation? Third-party cooperation is when, instead of the defendant in the federal case cooperating on his own behalf, the government would agree to allow some third party, usually somebody that the defendant knows or has some former dealing with, to cooperate on his or her behalf. What happens here is that the third party, who would be the cooperator, is working usually with the Drug Enforcement Administration to set up a controlled buy or do a reverse sting or something like that that would benefit the government. In exchange for that, the defendant on whose behalf the cooperator is doing the work would get a sentence reduction.
This is what Meech, Big Meech, Demetrius Flannery, known as Big Meech, and Tammy Cowens, known in the paperwork as CS1. CS1 stands for Confidential Source Number 1. Whenever there's a 1 behind the CS, that's the person who started the case.
Okay. So that
when you see CS1, that's what it stands for. Confidential Source Number 1.
So another thing, let's clarify for these people that you're not a Johnny come lately as far as your relationship with Big Meech.
No. Listen, man, we go back to we were really we were children for real, but we were young men. We were 22, 23 years of age. I'm 56 years old right now, and so is Big Meech, the Meech is Flannery. So our relationship go back over 30 years. You feel me? So I know we got a lot of niggas that's now jumping on their bandwagon and doing whatever they do. I'm a day one nigga. And I wanna clear up something. A question you posed to me last time was that people don't believe that I made Big Meech. I've never said I've made Big Meech. Let's make it clear. What I'm saying is that Big Meech has always been a money-getting nigga. But there's levels to this.
This call is from a federal prison.
The nigga never seen $1 million until he met me. He never seen $1 million until he met me. So no, I did not make him. And furthermore, I went off to prison. You know what I mean? This is my second go-round dealing with these devils.
Okay.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So this nigga had a long run without me. So no, I didn't make no one. And I want to also make something else clear, that I'm not trying to convince no one to believe me. I have a duty and a code that I live by, that I'll die by. I don't break the code, my nigga. You feel me?
Yeah, and they vouching for you. Like, they vouching for you in the D, people in the A. Definitely people I talk to in the Lou, they vouching for you.
Hey, yo, listen, Slim. Niggas fuck with me, man, because I don't break the code, man. You know what I mean? I ain't got no sight. I ain't got no monetary gains with what I'm doing. It's my duty as a real nigga to set a fuck nigga out for some foul shit. You feel me?
It's the code. It's the code.
It's the code, my nigga, and I live by that, man. I don't violate the code, man. What the nigga did is foul. You feel me?
Now, another thing I guess I want to touch on is explain to these people how Tammy Cowens came into play. Or how
Tammy Cowens was originally an old girl. Well, I ain't gonna say a girlfriend. Somebody that Blue Da Vinci was smashing. So Blue had threw her to Meech to handle his little fan mail and just handle his little runarounds. She eventually came to have BMF, Demetrius Flannery's life rights. And so that's how she became CEO of BMF Entertainment.
Okay.
So I want your audience to go to Georgia Secretary of State. Look up BMF Entertainment and see see who's the CEO, a government informant. So the nigga 50 Cent, you doing business with a government informant. You know it. I know it. Big Meech know it.
And that's also causing a rift between the family.
Between him and the rest of his family, because they what they saying to the nigga is, yo, this broad is hurting our brand. You feel me? And you ain't heard one word from the nigga about this situation.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Nothing. And his name is clearly on your paperwork.
His name is in the paperwork, man. This woman testified. This woman testified in a court of law that she became a DEA informant to give Demetrius Flannery a time cut. You feel me? It don't get any clearer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know most niggas don't understand paperwork. So I mean, and that's crazy to me, because you niggas call yourself street and you out in the streets, but you don't understand what these white folks are doing. That's crazy to me.
And I'm gonna attribute a lot of that to maybe they never dealt with the system, but that's what we here for, to educate them, I guess, on that, because all you got to do is follow the dots with this one, because that's when we bring up you, we have to bring up a guy by the name of Suarez.
Fidel Suarez met Demetrius Flannery in the county jail. He's a cartel member out of Los Angeles. Super good dude. Fidel beat the feds in trial and went home. But he exchanged information with Big Meech and was trying to help him. Whatever he needed, you know what I mean? Dude was down for that.
Okay.
So Big Meech and Tammy was initially trying to target Fidel. You feel me? So in the course of me and Tammy discussing Meech's movie rights and me seeking out a deal for a movie and me providing a script for a movie, the DEA got wind that I was in contact with Tammy, and they turned the investigation toward me.
So
that's why Fidel Suarez's name is in the paperwork.
Okay, and that make a lot of sense. And I guess kind of going back to that previous conversation, you were working on this script with MC Hammer's brother, trying to place what they showing now almost on Stars.
There you go. We was going to do a motion picture. We had a deal on the table from Lionsgate Films. MC Hammer's brother name is Louis Burrell. This is my guy. This is my nigga. It's a Bay nigga, but he been out in LA and Hollywood forever.
Yeah, I did my
You know what I
research
mean?
on him.
Yeah, that's my nigga. Super good dude. Been around forever. So I mean, he can contest. He contests all of this.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of sources out there that could confirm it. But really, if you paying attention and if you open your eyes and reading the paperwork.
And another thing your audience need to know.
This call is from a federal prison.
When I do these interviews, people say, well, damn, Cuff, how you know Tammy didn't get in any trouble? Tammy Collins has never been in any trouble. She has never been charged with anything. She's not from the streets. She's not about the streets. Demetrius Flannery put her up to this.
Yeah.
So this is what the government testified to in court, that she's cooperating with the DEA to set Cuff up to give Demetrius Flannery a time cut. It doesn't get any simpler than this, man. You feel me?
Yeah, and that's mind-blowing in itself, that somebody without a criminal record or, you know,
can be able to do this. Now we know that you can work off your sentence and things of that sort that other red niggas do, but this is an individual who's never been in any type of trouble. She was a fucking secretary at some office or something in Atlanta. So she's not from the street. She's never been charged with anything.
Wow.
You feel me? So this shit was new to the judge that was overseeing this case. You know what I mean? So she said, wait a minute, let me make this make sense. You mean to tell me that you signed up to be a DEA informant to set a guy up to give a kingpin a time cut, and the government is okay with this?
Yeah.
This is what the magistrate judge said in open court.
And now, briefly explain how that go into play with everything that happens with her and Keith Krumer. How that comes into play with your case.
Keith Krumer was the agent that started the case, but he tried to hide his hand. So the way that he hid his hand was he passed the case along to St. Louis DEA, who always had a bone to pick with me.
Okay.
So the reason why he hid the case and sent it down to the 8th Circuit, which is the St. Louis region, is because he had to try to hide his relationship. So the way that the relationship was brought to light was the Justice Department seized Tammy Cowan's phone. See, this is another thing that I found out, all the procedures that go and how you pay an informant and such and so forth. When they seized her phone, so once an informant completes his case and your guy is indicted, they have to turn over their phones and any other equipment of communication. Once that happened, they saw what she thought that she erased pictures and the text messages of her and Special Agent Keith Krumer. Pictures of them two in the bed naked. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Conversations back and forth. The Justice Department stopped my case to investigate Tammy Collins and Special Agent Krumer, who was indicted and fired.
Oh, so he lost his job over that.
What? Yeah, that's criminal. Because you falsifying court sworn records.
Yeah, and I seen that shit went up. That shit went up some levels of court. That shit was like, it was almost like, I don't want to say they was having Supreme Court hearings on that shit, but that shit went up past regular court level.
Yes, it's very serious. A DEA agent can have no contact.
Keith Krumer got fired over that, and how serious of a offense that was, and that pretty much re-triggered your case. That brought your case back to life.
Well, I ain't gonna say it brought my case back to life. This happened before my conviction. This happened during my prosecution. While I was in the county jail, this was going on.
So okay, a little bit, because I know if I'm confused by it, or if I was confused, because I'm fully in tune now, but at one time I was confused. Explain your situation and your conviction, because most people would see it like, well, he pleaded guilty, so how is
well, we have to point to 97% of individuals in the feds are based on pleas.
Okay. Yeah.
It basically boils down to if you're going to trial, you're not going to be viewed by your peers, and that's one of the biggest discrepancies from going to trial in the state courts. You feel me? So it is no way for you to have a 97% conviction rate unless the deck is stacked. So of course I did, and the other couple 100,000 people that's sitting in the feds with me right now also.
Yeah, and excuse me, it was some circumstances around that surrounding your co-defendant and statements that almost forced your hand with that, because
they did force my hand. When the government saw that their case was in trouble, they indicted me on 2 homicides.
So I'm gonna try to explain. I got a good friend that just came home from he was sentenced to 22 years and he got it cut to 11. But how he explained to me is how the feds work, and this is exactly what you're going to explain. So when they indict you, they know that 98% of the people are convicted. Once you put in, like, you're going to fight the case and you don't immediately cop out, that's when they come back and supersede you with multiple indictments and multiple different counts.
If they have the evidence, they first have to have the evidence.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, and now in your case, is that what happened with that situation? Did they kind of get you on one thing and come back when they noticed that you was going to fight it? They superseded you.
There you go. So when the case got in trouble, meaning that the agent and the government witness lost all credibility when a sexual relationship was revealed. It's illegal. It's immoral, and it kills all credibility. The justice system that we have is based on credibility. That's what it's supposed to be based upon. It's based on credibility. You feel me? Your veracity.
Okay.
Your credibility. And once that is gone, then you can't bring a prosecution. Because now you have committed what's called outrageous government misconduct, which is grounds for reversal or vacatur of the charge.
Wow. And that's the circumstances you're falling in under now. And I guess another thing we want to kind of briefly touch on is the ghost gun situation.
Yes. They use a theory called aiding and abetting. You feel me? And I tell the people all the time about the 2 tiers of justice we have in the federal system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
enlighten.
But just basically, first of all, you going to trial, you won't be adjudicated or judged by juries or your peers. So if you were in Philadelphia, they not drawing the jury pool from the city of Philadelphia. They going in outskirts Pennsylvania. So you're gonna have 12, 60, and 70-year-old white folks holding your faith in their hand when they've already came in with bias and prejudice of you and the people in the inner cities.
Before the case even started.
Before the case starts. That's the only way you're gonna have a 97% conviction rate in the feds.
Yeah.
It's the only way. It's built-in bias and prejudice.
Yeah. So right now, I know we talked about a case, the United States versus Laura. And I pretty much explained the scenarios around that case because it's very, very similar to yours.
It's identical.
Okay.
Laura was a case out of New York, out of the 2nd Circuit. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. He had drug charges, which were the statutes are called 841 and 846 for conspiracy and intent to distribute. Your audience might be lost on these terms, but
this call is from a federal prison.
Very familiar with these terms. Laura also was charged with a 924C and a 924J based on discharging a firearm and furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. That's the first charge. That's a 924C. I'm gonna let you see the similarities, so you'll see the double jeopardy that's coming along.
Okay.
The second charge is a 924J, and that is discharging a firearm during the drug trafficking incident that results in death. So they both are discharging a firearm during drug trafficking.
Yeah.
That's double jeopardy.
Yeah.
That's stacking the debt, and they do that to just add more time to your situation.
So when they supersede you, this is the vindictive part of going against the feds. They say, well, you have so much balls that you're not going to cop out to this plea. We're going to stack you with counts and charges.
Not only are you not going to cop out to this plea, a lot of these niggas, you understand, turn into government witnesses. You understand? So not only you're going to cop out, you're not going to help us bring more black and brown people into our system. You feel me?
Yeah, because I'm sure that come to you when they come to you with the plea, and when you don't play that ball game, they make
then they get nasty. You feel me?
And to make the people understand, they have to spend money to take you to trial. So when they feel like you making them spend the money on prosecution, all of this.
Exactly. But that's contrary to the Constitution.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, we know.
You have the right to seek trial. This is written in the Constitution. So it's contrary to the Constitution.
Yeah, they try to make it to where once you fight the government, you're not going to fight them. You'll never fight them again based on what they'll do to you, or you'll never get out because the amount of how they got the deck stacked against you.
Exactly. I will point you to the First Amendment. You have a right to seek grievance against the government. You have that right.
Yeah.
You have that right.
So
this is the Constitution I'm talking about.
So let's explain where your situation is at. So is that case still being tried and heard, or has that case been settled yet? The Laura case out of New York.
The Laura is settled. And that's what we're going back in on. Laura was settled in June of 2023.
Okay.
And so now we're in the appealing court stating the fact that we should get relief just as Laura did, because once the Supreme Court ruling becomes law, it's the law of the land. It's the highest court in the land.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, they can you state how long you've been in so they know that?
I've been in since 2014, so it's 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, and I knew from me doing my research, but being that it's kind of fresh in people's mind, I want to make sure that they know that this didn't just happen. This is something a decade
old. This has been going on for a while. I haven't heard from Big Meech since he put me with Tammy Collins.
And
this is a 30 plus year relationship. You feel me?
And
this is my nigga going back to when we were 21, 22 years of age. You feel me?
And that's crazy. Yeah.
So what I learned, this is very telling. This is what I learned through this whole thing. Because I learned a lot about what goes into being a confidential informant. Once the confidential informant or informants have completed their mission, meaning that the investigation is wrapped up or you're about to be indicted, all of those parties are to assist any contact, cut off any contact you have with the target, being myself. So that kind of explains why I never heard back from Big Meech since.
After that happened.
Right.
And I remember you talking, so a lot of this kind of got sparked up by an initial interview you did with someone. And that interview happened to take place, I was told, years ago. Even though it found its way to the internet recently. A lot of this is going to seem recent because the BMF show came out just a few years ago.
Right.
This kind of information just rose to the internet. But the person I spoke to that had and released the interview said, well, I had it for 2 years. I just didn't release it.
When, you know, when I went back and I looked at everything, I was like, you know what, bro? It's only right and only one way to really do it. You good? Only one way to really do it and just let dog speak for itself. So I wanted him to call in, and this is him calling in during the interview. Go ahead, Cuff, man. You can introduce yourself and take the flow.
Blue, what's up, man?
Yes, sir.
Hey, you know, a lot of people, man, is thinking that this thing is made up or this thing is fake or that I have an axe to grind. You feel me?
Right.
But I'm in here with a 27-year sentence based on Demetrius Flannery, as you all know as Big Meech, and Tammy Cowens, known in the paperwork as CS1.
Right.
Confidential Source 1. So what Big Meech did was call a third-party cooperation. So Tammy Cowens signed up to be a DEA informant to give Demetrius Flannery a time cut, plain and simple.
Right. So
okay, so can you break down the story? Like, how do you know this? And how'd you come upon this information?
how do you know? How do you came upon this information though?
We were rewarded what's called a Franks hearing. It's based on a case called U.S. versus Frank. So I would implore your listeners to look the case up. And what a Franks hearing entails is that you're able to cross-examine your accusers, meaning government agents, meaning informants, and so on and so forth, just like a regular trial. So this was testified in court.
Period. Point blank.
This was testified in court that I became a government informant to give Demetrius Flannery a time cut.
That's what was said on the stand, bro. The lady became a government informant to give Demetrius Flannery a time cut. But I think people would ask a question of this though. This is what I got hit with a lot is, all right, then if he did it to get a time cut, then how come he still did all that time in jail?
Well, what they don't understand is that he never received the time cut because what came out was that she had an illicit sexual relationship with Special Agent Keith Cromer.
Special Agent Keith Cromer.
Handler. But her first DA handler was the guy, as you should know, Blue, who wrote the BMF indictment, Special Agent Jack Harvey.
Special Agent Jack Harvey is the person that locked us all up, who's also the person that locked up Terry White, which was her first case as a DEA agent. And then he retired. He retired after he got them 60 years.
Yeah, he retired, and then her handler became a brother by the name of Keith Cromer, Special Agent Keith Cromer, who was also fired behind this particular case. So Meech never received the time cut because unbeknownst to a lot of people, it's against the law to have a sexual relationship or any personal relationship with a government informant.
This how it happened. Somehow, some way, because I don't know how, she met Special Agent Jack Harvey. You could leave that up to question. How did Big Meech's personal assistant / the person that handles all this business / the person that owns BMF Entertainment to this day since 2008.
Special Agent Jack Harvey. She put up with Harvey.
So now she meets Special Agent Jack Harvey, and then she starts working for Special Agent Jack Harvey, but not for the Meech case. It was for a whole nother case first. It was for Terry White. But once that case went well, okay, and once that went past and Terry White got his 30 years, Special Agent Jack Harvey retired. But now she was ready to go do the case for Meech and help get Meech his time cut. So now when Meech came up, it was a new person that came on, and his name was what's his name again, big homie?
Special Agent Keith Cromer.
Special Agent Keith Cromer is the new special agent after Jack Harvey retired. Now he's her handler, and they engulfed in a personal relationship, sexual, however they called it in the court. And through that relationship, it tainted the case, and it was dishonorable at that point. They had to throw that out. That's why Meech didn't get out. So now you pose the question of why is my big homie Cuff still in jail? And go ahead, Cuff, you can let them know why, how that happened.
From that conspiracy, they indicted me on 2 murder charges. Subsequently, I pled guilty to 2 gun charges in exchange for them dropping the murder charges.
Now, how did they Hold on, let me ask this
How'd
for
they
you.
set you up?
Hold on, let me ask this for you right quick. How did they get you on something that was totally different from the case that Meech and them was had you in a wiretap for?
Out of a totally different, nothing to do with the drug conspiracy, but they falsely accused it as being a part of the drug conspiracy, and then they brought about the gun charges as using the gun charges in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime.
This call is from a federal prison.
Okay, and did they hit you with a superseding indictment or just?
They superseded me.
So they came out of that case that y'all was in court for and hit you with a whole brand new case that had nothing to do with that at all.
Didn't have nothing to do. Yeah, it still had something to do with that. They still let the drug conspiracy stand between Tammy Collins and myself.
Oh.
That she started. That's the only way that they can continue to have jurisdiction. They had to leave the drug charges there.
Oh, see, I thought that they said, all right, well, this case is over, but we
pick up murder charges or gun charges unless it's tied to something. If it's not tied to anything, then the government don't have jurisdiction. So a carjacking has to be tied to something. To have a gun charge of using a 924C, as I have, or 924J.
G. Oh, J.
You
Right.
feel me? Discharging a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime that results in death.
Right.
How did Meech have information on you and give it to Tammy, and how'd all that come together where they were able to, put all that
He said,
together?
how did Meech have information on you and give it to Tammy so you could get caught up in it? How did that happen? So that means you got to go back to the movie.
Okay, so, well, let me take them back. So, me and Tammy were working on the BMF movie. I originally had the script and paid for the script for the BMF movie, not the show that 50's doing on Stars. But I originally paid for the script for the BMF movie, so we were shopping the movie.
So Tammy was involved at that time, which is CS1. So
Tammy Collins, CS1, had all Meech life rights.
Right. And what year was that?
This all the way back in 2010.
Okay. So this.
We proved that there was a legitimate business.
Right.
Legal business.
Right.
So, well, so let's take it back. The original target was the guy by the name of Fidel Suarez. That was a Mexican cartel member out of California. He was the initial target.
Right. Fidel Suarez was the initial target out of Cali.
His name is in the paperwork.
Right.
Tammy was trying to get Suarez.
Oh, Meech and Tammy was trying to get Suarez.
Exactly. But when the government found out she was in contact with me, they switched the investigation toward me.
Bad work, my nigga. Bad work. It's just bad work.
Exactly.
Did she help set you up or anything like that?
What's called third-party cooperation, and that's what we've been preaching because that's the dirty little secret.
He just, all right, look, did she help set you up or anything like that?
Yeah, she set me up.
Bro, I broke all that down on our last interviews, bro. Listen, all right, let me explain to you what this lady did, man. She went to the police. All right, she went on a visit or something with Meech and got a play to run. Look, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. She left from up there talking to him and went to the police and said, look, I'm supposed to go do this and go do that and do this and do that. I told y'all we finna run the play. And they gave her the phones or whatever to hook up the wiretap. They gave her the hot phones to wiretap who she was talking to. And then she started communicating with everybody on this wiretap phone, bro.
Exactly.
That's how she did it.
With Jack Harvey. Meech put her with Special Agent Jack Harvey.
Where can people find this paperwork?
All right, look, this is where you can find the paperwork. Type in Tammy Collins CS1.
YouTube.
On YouTube. Nah, on Safari. Not on YouTube.
Okay, yeah.
On Safari. I'm just sending to the actual docket. Nah, forget YouTube. Okay. I'm sending them to the docket. The docket is public information. If you type in Demetrius Flannery CS1, type in Demetrius Flannery CS1. It's in your Safari search, and it's gonna pop up right at the top. A 35-page, 33-page docket with all the docket numbers and everything, so people can't be saying it's fake. For people that want to go to Pace or go wherever and pull it for real, you know what I'm saying, off the internet or from a government site or something, then they could do it because all the CR numbers and all of it is there. So look, when I just type that in my phone, bro, see, because I don't want no mistakes about this. Hold on. When I just type that in my phone, this is what it looked like in my phone, right? This is what it looked like in my phone. When I type it in my phone, this is what it looked like in my phone, right? And then I'm going to click on it. Boom. And when you click on it and enlarge it and click on the actual docket, this is what it looked like.
Okay.
Okay, so when you got that one with the red case number 414-CR-00088-RWS-SPM, you know you got the right docket number. And this right here is United States District Court against Dion Lamont Gatlin, Timothy Lamont Rush, Andre Alfonso Rush, and Lorenzo Ralph Gibbs. So them is the defendants, okay, right there. And all this shit should have been thrown out when the lady started on the mother agent, but they still didn't kept my man, and that don't make no sense. I don't understand it. So that's how you pull it up right there, and no question. I did that last time, didn't I? On the last interview, or maybe we didn't put it up, but it should be no question of why anybody is saying, but what is this? I heard some people come back and say, oh yeah, but it just say she did all of it. She did it all.
Yeah, but see, that's when you got to tie the dots between Special Agent Jack Harvey.
Yeah, it's, I mean, not just Special Agent Jack Harvey, it's just her and me. She's the a co-executive producer of the BMF TV show. Of course he ain't gonna say nothing about it. They still in business to this day. She on the red carpet, they chopping their bag up right now. Meech don't give a about it. But guess what, though? Let me tell you the coldest part about this, Cuff. But me being out here still on this internet and watching what's going on and talking and got these young kids and so many motherfuckers to be able to get opinions from. And this day and age, bro, don't nobody even give a no more. They don't care. Yeah, y'all don't care. Don't nobody care. I know that don't nobody care, so I don't want nobody to react no certain way. This ain't for that. This is just the same information that motherfuckers be trying to drop on all that this is for that crowd of people. So know what's going on with when he come home, and the real that's around understand what's going on. Fans gonna be fans, and we get that. I'm not trying to knock no for having no.
What's up, man? Sean G here. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Do me a favor and go and follow me on my Instagram channel. Same name, the podcast was sold. So, you see the title of the video about Tammy Cowens, Big Meech, Cuffy, Suarez, the whole thing in the sworn affidavit, right? So, once again, let me tell you, everything that I'm coming from, all that I'm speaking from, is from this motion to suppress the wiretap evidence, right? Filed by Cuffy. So, I want to talk about Tammy Cowens, right? Because a lot of people are saying that her lies, which is true, she does eventually begin to recant her story and begin to outright lie about relevant matters in the case, okay? But this is later on. This is around 2015, right? So, in the initial sworn affidavit signed by Tammy Cowens, right? And the penalty for lying on a sworn affidavit could be fines, imprisonment. So there's a penalty for it, right? This is not nothing you can take lightly. So let's bear that in mind. Let's keep that in mind, right? So, in the sworn affidavit that allowed the DEA out of St. Louis to get wiretaps or get the approval to have electronic surveillance of Cuffy, there was a sworn affidavit signed by Tammy Cowens, right? And in this sworn affidavit and in this surveillance of Cuffy, they were allowed to use tracking devices, tap cell phones, pull his trash pulls they called it, GPS locator, everything, right? Now, this is key. This is the question that I have, right? This is where I can't, this is where I have an issue with this whole thing with Tammy Cowens and, you know, a lot of people saying that, you know, Big Meech, you know, Tammy Cowens was doing all of this unbeknownst to Demetrius Flannery, or as he's known, Big Meech. Now, in the sworn affidavit that Tammy Cowens signs, she expressly states that Demetrius Flannery, Big Meech, put her in contact with Fidel Suarez out of California and Dion Gatlin, who is Cuffy out of St. Louis, to arrange a large sale of cocaine. This is in the sworn affidavit in 2009, I think. Oh, this is, when is this? No, bad information. 2012. Okay? So, my question is, Tammy Cowens at this point is based out of Atlanta. How does she know, how could she possibly know about a drug deal between a Mexican nigga from California and a nigga from St. Louis? Right? How could that, and she's based in Atlanta. Right? How could she possibly know that? How could she possibly know that that them two individuals were gonna do a drug deal? And she's in a whole nother state, a whole nother region of the country. So y'all may say, and some people may say, well, was Fidel Suarez hot or a confidential informant? Or was Cuffy hot or a confidential informant? Now, if that's the case, if either Cuffy is already hot, or a DEA informant, or Fidel Suarez is already hot, and he's a DEA informant, then why would they wouldn't need Tammy Cowens to get involved, because one of them is hot trying to set up the other one. It's two of them. There would be no need for her if either one of them was hot and they were going to get the other one to do a deal. You follow what I'm saying? So that's critical. That's critical. Right? That's critical. Now, everybody has been attacking Tammy Cowens' integrity. And her integrity is trash. It's in the dipsy dumpster, it's in the basement, it's in the trash can. But this really comes to light and jumps to the forefront later on down the line in 2015. But at this point, Tammy Cowens is under her controlling agent, which is Special Agent Jack Harvey. Right? Special Agent Jack Harvey. Now, it says Tammy became a paid confidential informant in 2009, right? Where this became her occupation, right? And in this document, I'm going to put the link underneath this video. The link is under the two other videos I've done, and I'm also going to put it in the comment section. Don't come at me. I don't have an opinion of this thing either way, right? I don't know Meech. I don't know Cuffy. I don't know Jack Harvey. I don't know Tammy Cowens. I don't care, right? I'm coming purely from court documents. Now, she becomes a paid DEA informant in around 2009, right? And in this document, it says that her role was to pick up drugs, pick up money, and make phone calls as an informant in investigations of other hustlers, right? To get people indicted. And how she became an informant is pretty interesting. There was a gentleman in the name of there was a gentleman in Atlanta by the name of Terry White who got busted in Atlanta on a weed case, a big weed case. And I don't know the specifics. I've done a little research, but it's off of YouTube. So I don't really, it's one of those YouTube channels where it's an invisible person talking, they're talking in the background, but they're showing all these clips like a meme. And he's, so I don't really put a whole lot of stock in that. But I pulled up Terry White's case and I'm reading it now. And what's interesting, Big Meech is mentioned in Terry White's case. I'll come back to that. Terry White gets busted, indicted, and convicted on a weed case and gets sentenced to 120 months in federal prison. Tammy Cowens, according to Jack Harvey, and I'm going to read it to you, was the heart and soul of the case of helping the feds, the DEA, indict and convict Terry White. And even Jack Harvey mentions in here, and I'm going to read it to you, that Tammy Cowens was not the typical informant, or she didn't have the typical circumstance that informants typically become informants, right? She didn't have a case. She wasn't a drug user. I'm going to read it. It's in here. She wasn't already in jail trying to give information to get out. She didn't have no charges trying to work off time. She wasn't a drug user giving information for money and drugs. She cooperated against Terry White for whatever reason. I don't know. But to speculate or to guess or to hypothesize based on the YouTube video I watched last night, and don't quote me as this being factual, this is pure YouTube, and you take that for what it's worth, no paperwork. Her and Terry White had a romantic situation going on, and Terry White had a main lady, and Tammy Cowens was the side piece. And I think Tammy Cowens wanted to be more, and he was like, nah, and he was dissing her. So she was a jilted lover. And in her anger and frustration and love of Terry White and her inability to get him to commit to her, she jammed him up with what she knew. And as it states in here, when it was all said and done, Terry White was indicted, convicted, pled guilty, and had forfeitures and seizures of property, cars, and money. At the end of the day, Tammy Cowens gets paid $55,000 for her actionable information in the indictment, arrest, and conviction of Terry White. And after this case, she says she becomes a full-blown DEA informant paid on a monthly basis. It says that all in here. Read it yourself. Don't take it from me. Now, what's interesting is I pulled up Terry White's case, and I got to read it. I'm going to do another video on that. Meech's name is mentioned in there. Okay? So, let's read what Agent Jack Harvey, who was her controlling agent before he retired in 2011, has to say about Tammy Cowens and her reliability and her trustworthiness when it comes to being a snitch, being a rat, giving information on felonious behavior. Now, keep in mind, keep this question on the forefront of your mind. How does she know? She's in Atlanta. How does she know about a drug deal going down between a Mexican from California and a brother from St. Louis? Let's see what Jack Harvey has to say. So, first, let me read the affidavit. All right, so here we go. Okay, this is the second bullet point. The first bullet point of the affidavit just talks about what formed the basis of them being able to get the wiretap to tap Cuffy's phone. Okay, now, here is the critical part. And like I told you, this is a sworn affidavit where if you lie on a sworn affidavit, the penalties, it's called perjury, the penalties are fines or imprisonment. So, I don't know if she could have been imprisoned for lying on a sworn affidavit as an informant. I don't know. But let's keep this in mind. She just cooperated against Terry White, right? And did a fantastic job. This is her first time ever doing it, as far as we know here. And she received $55,000. And everything that she said against Terry White checked out. Check. No lies. Everything right and exact. Second, the affidavit asserted facts relating to both CS1's, which is Tammy Cowan's, reliability as an informant, and measures the DEA St. Louis investigators took to corroborate information provided by Tammy Cowan's. As to Tammy Cowan's reliability, the affidavit attested that Tammy Cowan's was cooperating with the DEA for monetary gain, quote unquote, and quote unquote, had been shown to provide reliable information to the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, regarding a multitude of felonious activity, and had provided information that resulted in the arrest of at least one individual and the seizure of drugs and U.S. currency. As for cooperation by the DEA in St. Louis, the affidavit asserted that DEA St. Louis investigators corroborated information from Tammy Cowan's by using toll analysis of devices used by Tammy Cowan's, Gatlin, and Suarez on August the 5th, 2012. This is in the affidavit. Now, this is what Jack Harvey has to say about Tammy Cowan's. This is in the motion to suppress hearing, the evidentiary hearing. Remember on the second video, Cuffy filed the motion to suppress, right? The Frank's hearing. So Cuffy's attorney gets to cross-examine witnesses, agents, whatever. They both get to do that. So check this out. This is in the paperwork. Tammy Cowan's first became a confidential informant for DEA Atlanta in 2009, right? This is when she starts busting Terry White's head to the white meat. When she provided information in a money laundering case which resulted in the successful prosecution and conviction of individual named Terry White. Although CS1, Tammy Cowan's, was not initially a paid DEA informant, Tammy Cowan's controlling agent, Agent Jack Harvey, put Tammy Cowan's in for an award that would be a percentage of the value of property forfeited by White because information provided by Tammy Cowan's was so beneficial that the DEA made seizures from White. Now, here is the subsection. This is where it gets good. According to Jack Harvey, Tammy Cowan's was the heart and soul of the Terry White case. Agent Harvey testified that Tammy Cowan's was an unusual informant in that she had no criminal record, was not a known drug user, did not appear to be motivated by money, and was not looking to get a reduced prison sentence or dismissal of criminal charges. Rather, Tammy Cowens appeared to be motivated to make up for the fact that Terry White had used Tammy Cowens to unwittingly launder drug money. Tammy Cowens provided significant information during the investigation of the case, which was used in various search warrants. The investigation, which started in 2008, culminated with an arrest in 2009, and White was convicted and sentenced in 2011. Tammy Cowens eventually received an award of approximately $55,000 for the Terry White case. So, these are the facts. This is not me. These are the facts. The link is above. Jack Harvey retires in 2011. And then Tammy Cowens gets handed over to a gentleman by the name of Keith Cromer, which is the one she had the illicit, inappropriate sexual relationship with while investigating Cuffy, Suarez, that thing. Although the precise scope of Tammy Cowens' duties after Agent Harvey's retirement is not entirely clear, Tammy Cowens testified credibly that she was paid on a monthly basis for things like picking up money or drugs and or making phone calls in drug investigations. According to the testimony of Agent Cromer, Tammy was paid on a monthly basis for providing quote-unquote actionable information that could lead investigators to a drug source of supply in ongoing long-term drug investigations. For example, according to Agent Cromer, information from Tammy Cowens that Fidel Suarez, a California-based Mexican national known to law enforcement to be a suspected drug distributor, or Gatlin or Cuffy were conspiring to engage in drug trafficking activity was the sort of actionable information for which Tammy Cowens might receive payment. That's key. That's key. Now, this is another interesting part. This is in the paperwork. This is page 11. Tammy Cowens' relationship with Big Meech, Suarez, and Gatlin. When Tammy Cowens became a DEA informant, she had been a longtime friend and associate of Demetrius Flannery, Big Meech. Tammy Cowens held Flannery's power of attorney and life rights with creative control, the right to tell and presumably sell Big Meech's life story for profit. Those rights, by Tammy Cowens' estimation, could be worth as much as $1 million. Here's the thing. This is the key. CSI Tammy Cowens testified that Flannery, Big Meech, was well known, and it was not at all unusual for Tammy Cowens to receive calls from total strangers asking about Flannery. It was due to Tammy Cowens' relationship with Flannery that Tammy Cowens first came in contact with both Fidel Suarez and Dion Gatlin, Cuffy. It was due to Tammy Cowens' relationship with Big Meech that Tammy Cowens first came in contact with both Suarez and Cuffy. In September 2011, Big Meech requested Tammy Cowens' help in coordinating delivery of a load of cocaine to be controlled by Suarez, who, at that point, was already in contact with Tammy Cowens. There's another paragraph, and then here's another one. At some point, Big Meech asked Tammy Cowens to connect Gatlin and Suarez. At some point, Big Meech asked Tammy Cowens to connect Cuffy and Suarez, and the relationship between Tammy Cowens, Cuffy, and Suarez turned to narcotics. So, this is the paperwork, y'all. This is the court documents. Now, what happens is this. As this case is progressing, And this is all public information. Anybody in the world could look this up. This is public information. As the case is, as this hearing is taking place, this motion to suppress, the federal government is documenting the case and making it available on Pacer. So I think people are seeing the information and they're able to ascertain that, yo, this is Tammy doing this. This is Tammy Cowens. And in here it says that she has perceived threats, meaning in her mind, and has received threats for her safety and the safety of Big Meech. That's in here. It says it in here. This is when she drives to Louisiana. This is in 2015. To meet with Big Meech in Louisiana. She doesn't get the chance to meet with him. I guess he's in prison down there. I don't know. Because he's locked up at this time. And I think Big Meech gets locked up in 2005. So all of this happens while Big Meech is incarcerated. Terry White falls at the hands of Tammy Cowens. And this whole thing is going down with Tammy Cowens. And Big Meech's name is in the transcript of Terry White's case. I just haven't read it yet. She eventually speaks to Big Meech, and Big Meech tells her, and it's in here, quote unquote, I don't want my name caught up in this mess. Right? So this is what she does. After she speaks with Big Meech, and she's perceiving threats or receiving threats to her safety and Meech's safety, she comes back and emails, she comes back and she contacts Cuffy's attorney and says that a lot of what she said in the initial affidavit is factually incorrect. Now she wants to change her whole story and do another affidavit. Right? All of that's in here. Right? And then in this second affidavit, she says that Meech had nothing to do with putting her in contact with Suarez and Cuffy. Here it is. Here it is. Check this out. After she meets with Big Meech, now she comes back. Documents contained in the court's electronic docket in the case reflect that on March 18, 2015, former retained counsel or attorney for Cuffy advised the government via email that Tammy Cowens had contacted one of his associates. She contacted Cuffy's lawyers, among other things, contacted one of his associates claiming, among other things, that the wiretap affidavit was factually incorrect. Tammy Cowens also reportedly told the associate that the DEA in Atlanta, who was referenced in the affidavit, had been suspended or was under investigation. Right? This is in 2015, after she goes to meet with Big Meech. Right? What's up, Sean? What's up? So now she's changing her whole story. And this is what she does. Now, all while this time, her and Keith Cromer are having a sexual relationship, which Keith Cromer is way out of bounds. He way off his square. By being romantically and sexually involved with an informant in the middle of an ongoing investigation, drug investigation. So she says, among other things, that no, Meech didn't have nothing to do with it. And then number two, she says that Keith Cromer, because he was jealous of her and Meech's relationship, that he told her to say that. You know what I'm saying? It gets crazy, man. So but Keith Cromer, the agent, ends up getting fired. He's being investigated. He ends up getting fired. And, the whole case unravels. But I just wanted to make this video to really focus on Tammy Cowens and her solid trustworthiness and reliability as told by her controlling agent, Jack Harvey, at the outset of the case, where she specifically states that Meech put her in contact with Suarez and Cuffey. But then after she starts perceiving threats or receiving threats to her safety and Meech's safety, after meeting with Meech 3 years later, now the story has changed. And she's got an easy scapegoat to blame it on Cromer, because now he's fired, he's under investigation. So now nothing that he says is credible, so she's blaming on him that he put all that together. Now, so this is part 2, right? And this is what we got, okay? So I pulled down the paperwork. The video I did yesterday, right, was largely based on, like I told you in that video, information my man gave me, right, who I was in federal prison with. I did 16 months. I was sentenced to 18 months on a white collar beef. I did 15 months, 15 days, and 19 hours at FCI Morgantown in Morgantown, West Virginia. And I met Black. I got there in October 2014. I met Black like around December. He's from East St. Louis. He's from the Boogie. He got there like December, and me and him was tight for the remaining 13 months I was there. And that's my man still to this day. So I see a lot of y'all in the comment section, and that's fine. You can say what I'm saying is cap. I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's fine. I don't care nothing about that. But one thing I do know is that, paperwork doesn't lie. And I'm not a fan of Big Meech. I'm not a fan of Cuffey. I'm not a fan of Tammy Cowens. I'm not a fan of the United States government. I don't care about any of them. You understand what I'm saying? I only got involved in this particular content because my nigga Black is from the Boogie, East St. Louis, which is right next door to St. Louis. And I remember him telling me, that's my cat, when we was in prison together about this story, but I didn't think nothing of it. I had forgot all about it because we talk about so much. And I've been home. I got released January 2016. So I've been out of prison for, 9 years now? But he did tell me this story once before. But when it started popping up in the in my YouTube feed, in the algorithm, and I didn't know about the dude Cuffey. But when they said it was St. Louis, I knew that if I called my nigga Black, I knew he was going to know something about it. And sure enough, I called him, and he did, and he told me the whole story. And a lot of what he said, and a lot of what I said in the first video is accurate. But here's the paperwork. The link is underneath this video. I'm also going to put it in the comment section. This is it's the United States District Court, Eastern District of Missouri, Eastern Division, right? So Cuffey was serious about this case because he requested a Franks hearing, right? A Franks hearing. Get down. He requested a Franks hearing when it was all going down. He was fighting for his life, right? And from what my nigga Black told me, it doesn't say much about it here, but he was looking at the death penalty, right? Because there was some murders of some government witnesses, right? So he felt like, let me go all the way. So he applies for a Franks hearing and he gets it. And let me explain to you what a Franks hearing is, right? A Franks hearing is a legal proceeding that determines if a police officer's affidavit for a search warrant contained false or misleading information. The hearing is named after the 1978 Supreme Court case, Franks versus Delaware, right? When is a Franks hearing held? When a defendant may request a Franks hearing if they believe the officer intentionally or recklessly included false information in the affidavit. Okay? You can look this up on your own. The defendant must show that the false information was necessary to establish probable cause. The defendant may also request a Franks hearing if the search resulted in discovery of incriminating evidence, right? what happens at a Franks hearing? The defendant challenges the affidavit. So what it was, in the initial affidavit that Tammy Cowens, who was a government informant and who is referenced in this document, which is this is the motion to suppress. Hold on. She's listed in this paperwork as CS1, confidential source 1. Right? Now, this document, the defense filed this motion, Cuffey filed after he had the Franks hearing. He was granted, the court granted him the Franks hearing. They could have denied the Franks hearing, right, if they didn't believe, it was sufficient, right? But they gave him a Franks hearing, and then after the Franks hearing, right, he filed the motion to have the electronic surveillance evidence suppressed. It was a motion to suppress because there were lies and misstatements in the affidavit, the initial affidavit filed and signed by Tammy Cowens, who was a government informant, right? And it's all here. What happened, how it all went down in this motion to suppress, the key date is August the 5th, 2012, right? This is the date where Tammy Cowens, who is CS1, is trying to connect a Mexican dude from California named Fidel Suarez and Dion Gatlin, who is Cuffey, that's his government name, to do a drug deal, right? Now, they've tapped Cuffey's phone by this time. And the way in the initial affidavit, just get the paperwork and read it. I'm just a YouTuber, kid. In the initial affidavit, Tammy Cowens puts in the affidavit, this is the one she signs, that Demetrius Flannery, Big Meech, put her, Tammy Cowens, CS1, in contact with Fidel Suarez and instructed her to contact Dion Gatlin, Cuffey, to do a drug deal. That's in the sworn affidavit signed by Tammy Cowens. So, Tammy, in this document, says she had been a government informant for years. And when in here it says she first met Big Meech, I think in 2009, of which she had already been a government informant, right? And she befriended him. This is all in here. You can read it. And she, by this time, Meech has already been convicted and is doing 30 years, 360 months, 30 years in the federal system, of which you have to do 85% of that time. 10% would be 30 months, another 45 months. So you knock off, you're probably looking at about 26, 25 and a half, 26, whatever that number is, right? So he's already sentenced. It also talks about here how she has the life rights and all of this stuff, and it's worth probably about $1 million. But anyway, she begins to facilitate this drug deal between Fidel Suarez from California and Dion Gatlin, known as Cuffey, from St. Louis. Now, her handler in Atlanta is a dude named Keith, what's my man's name? Keith Comers? What's my man? Keith Cromer. Keith Cromer is the special agent in charge that's handling her, right? He tells her what to do. He's the DEA Atlanta Group Supervisor, Keith Cromer. Now, at the time of this motion, he's being investigated by the Office of Professional Responsibility and the Office of Inspector General for his inappropriate relationship with Tammy Cowens, improper payments to Tammy Cowens, and falsified reports to justify improper payments to this girl. Now, they begin what starts as a personal relationship, as per this document, evolves into a sexual relationship, right? They go on this sexual escapade. And it's proven because Tammy has pictures of them together in her phone, right? And he's being investigated for saying, right? So this is one of the reasons why Cuffy and his attorney feel like all of the information in that affidavit, right, should be thrown out because of the improper relationship between the special agent Keith Cromer and the informant, right? Keith Cromer, you know what I'm saying, got lost his moral compass, right? Once he started having sex with this woman. He's paying her, and it talked about it on a monthly basis, and sometimes there was information from another informant, which was CS2. CS2 would provide actionable evidence, actionable information that was good for the case, but he wouldn't pay CS2. He would give it to her. This is what he was doing, right? You know, a woman and her kitty cat is strong, man. You understand? Now, in the affidavit, right, and it talks about it in here, how Big Meech and Suarez met in the county jail in Detroit, like around 2005. And, you know, that's how they befriended each other. Now, as this hearing is going, the judge is listening to all of this testimony, right? And the judge talks about it in here. She says, this is the judge's words in here. They called the witnesses. They put Keith Cromer on the fan. They put Keith Cromer on the stand at this hearing to testify at the Franks hearing, and a couple of the other agents underneath him, right, that he was in charge of. The agents that were underneath Keith Cromer pled the fifth. They took the fifth. They pled the Fifth Amendment, which means that they didn't want to get on the stand and say anything that was self-incriminating, right? Self-incriminating. So that means that, you know what I'm saying, everything ain't right and exact with what I did. Homeboy Keith Cromer did the same thing. He pled the fifth. But then he went back on that and said, nah, I'm not going to invoke my Fifth Amendment. Put me on the stand. So he takes the stand and he begins to answer questions. And then this whole sexual tryst comes out, right, between him and Tammy Cowens. At first, he says it was just personal. It was never sexual. But this totally contradicts what Tammy Cowens already signed in the affidavit and already said. Yeah, he was knocking me down. I was knocking him down. We was getting busy. This nigga get on the stand and say, nah, it was just personal. So right there, you know, these are the things that Cuffy and his defense is saying, yo, look at the inconsistencies. One, the improper relationship, right? Two, the inconsistencies in their statements. So nothing that they ever put in can be credible, right? So the judge hears all this testimony, and the judge, out her mouth, says, look, I think it was like 7 witnesses for the government, and I don't know, maybe 6 for the defense, for Cuffy. She said, all of the witnesses that took the stand and testified here, all of them are credible, except one. And she said CS1, which was Tammy Cowens. So much of her testimony contradicted itself. And even Keith Cromer, right? Some of his information, and they writing this stuff in an affidavit while they're having sex, right? You know, in here it talked about the first time, or one of the first couple times, Fidel Suarez called Tammy Cowens on the phone. She put him on the speakerphone, right? And Keith Cromer was there. And then another time she said, well, he wasn't there. I hooked him up on a 3-way. Suarez called me, and I patched Keith in on a 3-way, unbeknownst to Suarez. And then Keith, you know what I'm saying, said, no, it wasn't that. It's just bad, right? So, also, what's key is a lot of people are saying that Big Meech was unaware of what Tammy Cowens was doing. But the paperwork says otherwise. He was aware, right? Because, number one, she signed in the initial affidavit, the one she signed. There's another one that she does that she doesn't sign, and I'm going to get there. she testifies and swears in an affidavit that Demetrius Flannery told her to reach out to Fidel Suarez in California and put Fidel Suarez in contact with Gatlin. Cuffy, excuse me. I don't know much about drug law. I went to the feds on a white collar beef. I listen to a lot of dudes talk about them drug cases, them 848s. They know more about that than me. Conspiracy and all of that. And also it talked about in here that when Demetrius Flannery, Big Meech, put Tammy in contact with, somebody's trying to call me, in contact with Suarez and told Suarez to get in touch with Cuffy, that he had the potential to make monetary gain, right? Which would tie him up in the conspiracy, right? Now he's already in prison at this point. And Tammy does just what he tells, she does exactly what Big Meech tells her to do. So during the hearing, her testimony, because she's a confidential source, is behind closed doors to protect her identity. But so much information is coming out in this hearing that some of the records are made public that niggas on the street is figuring out it can't be nothing but her. So she goes to her agent in charge and says, yo, I fear for my safety. So they seal all her records at this particular hearing. And the lead agent kind of tells the judge, like, yo, we got to chill with her because she has perceived or is receiving threats based upon publicly available documents, right? So she jumps in her whip, she jumps in her car, drives to Louisiana, right? I guess this is where Big Meech is locked up at. I don't know. But in the paperwork, she drives to Atlanta and meets Big Meech. She tries to meet him. She don't get to meet him. But somehow, while she's there, she gets in contact with him. That's my cat. And she is explaining to him everything that's going on in this. And he tells her, it's in here, those measures included contacting the undersigned magistrate judge whose chambers referred the CSI to United States Attorney and driving several hours to Louisiana soon after learning about the court filing to attempt to see Flannery to try to explain her position and try to deflect any accusation coming Tammy Cowan's way. Although it appears that Tammy did not speak with Flannery in Louisiana on March the 6th, CS1's hearing testimony suggests that when CS1 did finally speak with Flannery, he advised Tammy he didn't want his name caught up in this mess, right? That's all right here. So I've been seeing a lot of people saying, you know, she was doing this unbeknownst to him, and he was aware, right? He knew what was going on, right? This is here. This isn't me. This is here. Now, after she talks to Meech, she dips back to either it was St. Louis, because by this time the Atlanta DEA and the St. Louis DEA are working hand in hand to try to put this thing together, right? So she goes back to Atlanta and she recants everything she said in the first affidavit. She recants everything after speaking to Meech. But she never signs the affidavit. She does a new affidavit. The first affidavit was a sworn affidavit, where I told you she expressly states that Big Meech told her to contact Suarez so that Suarez and Gatlin can do a drug deal. Now, after this, she go back and say, yo, everything I said, that ain't true. Ain't none of that right and exact. And she says, Big Meech didn't tell her to do nothing, right? You know, but the judge doesn't believe it, right? Because after she spoke to Suarez, when Suarez was in St. Louis, Suarez came from California to St. Louis to meet with her. She wouldn't meet with him. She declined to meet with him. He said, yo, let's get together. I want to meet you. She declined to meet with him. He sent her a picture of himself. She didn't meet with him. He's calling her. Suarez is calling her back to back. She ain't picking up the phone. He like, yo, you know, I'm trying to get in touch with you. I'm trying to get, what's up? Then he told us, look, I got the fucking truck there with the drugs. Where is Cuffy? This is all in there. So him and Cuffy eventually do get together. But after she did the call speaking with Suarez, the investigation, now that this was going down in St. Louis, the DEA from St. Louis got involved and they immediately debriefed her. She spoke with Suarez on August the 5th. On August the 6th, the very next day, the St. Louis DEA debriefed her. And she told him, then, Big Meech told me to contact Suarez and for Suarez to get in touch with Cuffy so that they could do a deal. So not only did she put it in the first affidavit, she told my man in St. Louis, the DEA agent, he was a task force officer, TFO. She told him. And he testified that, yeah, she told me that, right? And documented it. So, like, everything that she said, and Cromer, you know, he eventually gets fired, the agent. There was another lie she told. After she came back from seeing Meech, she told the lie that her and Cromer were together at her house when Suarez called, and Cromer heard on the speakerphone the whole conversation, which was a lie because at the time that she said the call was made, he was out of town with his family on vacation. And the feds proved it because they pulled his credit card receipts and said he couldn't have been in Atlanta with you because the nigga was in South Carolina. All this is in here, man. And that's pretty much it, man. But Cuffy's motion to suppress the evidence was denied. He was denied because they said that her lies and Keith Cromer's lies and their sexual escapade, even if it was strucken from the hearing, it still wasn't. There was still sufficient evidence to have probable cause to indict Cuffy and keep the case moving. You understand? And it also talked about her helping knock off Terry White. I don't know who he was, and she was paid $55,000. Some of the proceeds, what they took from Terry White, she got a percentage of that because she provided actionable information that led to an arrest and conviction. And then after that, she signed up to become a professional informant and was getting paid on a monthly basis by the DEA. All of that's in there. So, you know, it's a pretty interesting thing. I just read this whole thing. It's a pretty interesting case. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I don't care about anybody in this case. You know, like I say, I only made this video so I could get views, right? Full disclosure. And another reason is I did Fed time. And, you know, people told on me, right? And so I know how it go. And like I said, I did 16 months in there. And I heard all kind of stories, man. And, you know, one thing I do know is that paperwork is the paperwork. You understand? And, you know, I don't want to make any inferences. Everything that you heard me just share with you is in this document. I'm going to put it right underneath this video. And I'm also going to put it in the comment section. You know, and that's it. You know, I don't like to, you know, because when I was in the feds, man, you know, and if you know, you know. If you've never been in the federal system and been to a federal prison, you're not going to be able to understand this. But the one thing you don't want to be in federal prison is hot, right? You know, in the feds, the term hot is not a good thing, right? I don't know about out here. Yo, that record hot, that car hot. In the feds, when they say you are hot, that means you a rat, you a snitch. You are no good. Your name is no good. Nothing about you is good. And you are to be shunned and stayed away from. And, you know, a lot of that, if you get on a federal prison compound, there's going to be a lot of gossip. Yo, he hot. And niggas just be saying this out of their mouth without no proof of paperwork. You understand? But, you know, the paperwork is what it is, and, you know, you can't get around it. And, you know, the thing about it is once you become a rat, you can never get out from underneath it. Your children can't get out from underneath it. Even when you dead and gone, you can't get out from underneath it. Right? Now, I know in today's culture, you know, nobody cares about that, right? Doesn't matter your moral turpitude, right? Your integrity, right? Whether you straight up and down like 6 o'clock, you know, whether you a real nigga like we like to say, none of that matters anymore. What matters is your celebrity, how many followers you got, how much money you got, irrespective of how you acquired the money. But in the feds, it means everything. It means everything. And in your soul, and in your psyche, and within your family, it means everything. You know, and when I caught my case, you know, I had mandatory incarceration. And I was scared to go to prison. I was nervous. I had never been to state prison. I had did some county jail time. Fulton County Jail, Atlanta, Georgia, DeKalb County Jail on Memorial Drive. I had been locked up in precinct on 135th Street in Manhattan, in Harlem, and Central Booking, 100 Center Street. But I had never did prison time. So they told me I had mandatory prison time. I was nervous as a cat on a high tin roof in July. And I had the option to do a 5K one. They told me, Sean, you know, you could wear cameras, you could wear microphones, you could turn in your own clients. And, you know, my son was the pawn, right? Because 27 days before I got ready to self-surrender, his mother filed for custody. And, you know, I didn't know what she was going to do, you know. I didn't know what was going to happen with my son. Because by that time, we had a falling out. You understand? She was involved in my case. And, you know, there was some questions with that. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, she was dealing with a guy that knew me and her. He knew me and I was dealing with her. And he was going to be with her and my son while I was in prison. And I just, you know, I was concerned for his safety. But when they started talking that, man, I said, nah, man. You know, because my son, he got the same name as me, man. You understand? That's just going to be a chance I'm going to have to take. You understand? I'm going to go ahead and do these 18 months or however much I'm going to do, come home, and hopefully, you know, I'll be able to find my son wherever. I didn't know if they was going to take him or what. And so I know the pressure. But I just, you know, it wasn't nothing I could do. You know what I'm saying? You know, I caught my case here in my town, and I got released back to my town. You know, when you see dudes that catch a case in this part of the country, and when they get released to a whole nother region of the country, it could be surmised and concluded that he got some static back where he caught his case because he may have not been right and exact, and he need to go hundreds of miles away for his safety. You know what I'm saying? That's what an assumption that can be made. Not to say that it's always true. Sometimes dudes keep it to 100, you know, stay straight up and down like 6 o'clock, and they get released and they just feel like going to another part of the country to start over. But, you know, once you go that route, you can't come back from it, man. And, you know, integrity is important. You know, authenticity never went out of style and never will. Integrity never went out of style and never will. And you know, being a man amongst men never goes out of style.
All right, man. So there y'all go. I gave you what I promised you. Now y'all come up with your own answers, man. What y'all think? Just let me know in the comments down below. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Let's get to 1,000. Your boy's out.